So at this time, Lisa Young will take roll call to see if a quorum is present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, when I call your name, please respond. Matthew Potzler.
Here.
Thank you. Mangus Slinky. Kim Butler. Kim Butler. Dave Barry. Benjamin Bitter. Walter Bouchard. Derek Castaneda. Beverly Chanowski.
Present.
Thank you. Tim Connor.
Here.
Thank you. Michael Denby.
Present.
Thank you. Scott DeBias.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Forrest. Liz Foster. Liz Foster. John Woods. Rhonda Humbles. Hondo Judd.
Here.
Thank you. Michelle Kamikawa. Spencer Camps. Martin Lucero. Corin Hooper. Joe Martini. Amanda McGinnis.
Present.
Thank you. JC Porter.
Here.
Thank you. Danae Pressler.
Present.
Thank you. Mario Saldamondo.
Present.
Thank you. Stephanie Garcia.
Present.
Thank you. Ramona Simpson.
Here.
Thank you. Susie Stevens.
Present.
Thank you. Edward Stillings.
Here.
Thank you. Steve Trussell. Kai Yamada.
Present.
Thank you. Robert Vandenacker.
Present.
Thank you. Kristen Watt.
Present.
Thank you. Michelle Wilson. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Hello,
Okay.
this is Martin Lucero with the City of Surprise. Sorry I missed the roll call, but I'm present.
Thank you.
I'm Rhonda Humble, City of Peoria.
Thank you.
Liz Foster, Maricopa County Farm Bureau.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Lisa. I was just pausing in case there was anyone else. Thank you. A quorum is now present. So the meeting of the MAG Air Quality Technical Advisory Committee is called to order. All members are participating virtually. Please remember to mute when you are not speaking. If you are attending by phone only, you can press *6 to unmute. We operate our committee meetings in full transparency, giving the public access to committee meetings, materials, and discussion. The public cannot view the chat comments. As a result, we are disabling the chat feature in all committee meetings moving forward. If you need technical assistance during a meeting, please contact the helpline at 602-452-5095 or contact MAG staff. We appreciate your understanding in helping to maintain transparent discussions for the benefit of the public. Moving on to agenda item number 2, call to the audience. An opportunity will be provided to members of the public to provide input through written comment to the Air Quality Technical Advisory Committee on items that are not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of MAG, or on items on the agenda for discussion but not for action. Members of the public are asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website at azmag.gov/comment and indicate for which meeting the comment is intended. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. Comments received prior to the deadline will be read aloud during the meeting. Comments must not exceed 3 minutes in length, and a total of 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience agenda item unless the Air Quality Technical Advisory Committee requests an exception to this limit. Please note that comments received for agenda items posted for action will be read at the time the item is heard. MAG staff, have we received any public comments? If so, please read them at this time.
Madam Chair, we did not receive any public comments.
Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to agenda item number 3, which is approval of the August 26, 2021 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes, or is there any discussion?
This is Stephanie Garcia. I motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Liz Foster, Maricopa County Farm Bureau. I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion from Stephanie Garcia and a second from Liz Foster. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote will be taken at this time by Lisa Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, when I call your name, please state your vote. Matthew Potzler.
Aye.
Thank you. Mangus Slinky. Dave Barry. Benjamin Bitter. Walter Bouchard. Kim Butler. Derek Castaneda.
Aye.
Thank you. Beverly Chanowski.
Aye.
Thank you. Tim Connor.
Aye.
Thank you. Michael Denby.
I am here. Aye.
Thank you. Scott DeBias.
Aye.
Thank you. Robert Forrest. Liz Foster.
Aye.
Thank you. John Woods.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Rhonda Humbles.
Aye.
Thank you. Hondo Judd.
Aye.
Thank you. Michelle Kamikawa. Spencer Camps. Martin Lucero.
Aye.
Thank you. Corin Hooper. Joseph Martini. Amanda McGinnis.
Abstain, I was not there for that meeting.
Thank you. J.C. Porter.
Also abstain. Thank you.
Thank you. Danae Pressler.
Aye.
Thank you. Mario Saldamondo.
Aye.
Thank you. Megan Sheldon.
Aye.
Thank you. Stephanie Garcia.
Aye.
Thank you. Ramona Simpson.
Aye.
Thank you. Susie Stevens.
Abstain.
Thank you. Kai Umeda.
Aye.
Thank you. Robert Vandenacker.
Aye.
Thank you. Kristen Watt.
Aye.
Thank you. Michelle Wilson. Michelle Wilson. Madam Chair, we have 19 ayes and 3 abstentions.
Thank you, Lisa. We will now move on to agenda item number 4, which is an update on the 2022 Serious Area Particulate Plan for the West Pinal County Non-Attainment Area. Matt Poppin with the Maricopa Association of Governments will provide a presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Today we're going to do another update on the 2022 Serious Area Plan that's going to be focused largely on the modeling and the modeling protocol. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder of where we are and how we got to this place, as we know, the Environmental Protection Agency designated the non-attainment area initially as a moderate area, effective July 2nd, 2012. The Arizona Department of Environmental Quality prepared a non-attainment area SIP and submitted to EPA on December 21st, 2015 for the moderate area. And the attainment date for the moderate area was December 31st, 2018. On June 24th, 2020, EPA published a rule to determine that the non-attainment area had failed to meet the PM10 standard by the attainment date and is reclassified as a serious area. A serious area plan is due within 18 months of the reclassification date, which is January 24th, 2022. Next slide. Additionally, on January 8th, 2021, EPA published a proposed rule to approve in part and disapprove in part the 2015 West Pinal Moderate Area SIP prepared by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. And then on February 26, 2021, EPA published a limited approval and limited disapproval of a revision to the SIP regarding agricultural best management practices designed to address the moderate non-attainment area requirements in the non-attainment area. As a result of this, on May 17, 2021, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality withdrew the 2015 West Pinal Moderate PM10 Non-Attainment Area SIP. Next slide, please. And as a result of the withdrawal, on July 23rd, 2021, EPA published a finding of failure to submit a state implementation plan to meet the moderate area requirements for the West Pinal County PM10 non-attainment area, effective August 23rd, 2021. With that, there is the possibility of the imposition of emission offset sanctions if the state does not submit a complete moderate area plan by February 23rd, 2023. 2 years after the effective date, August 23rd, 2023, imposition of highway sanctions would apply if the state does not submit a complete moderate area plan. Additionally, on August 23rd, 2023, 2 years after the effective date, promulgation of a federal implementation plan could be done by EPA if EPA does not approve the state's moderate area plan submission. Now, EPA has let us know that submission of a complete serious area PM10 plan that addresses all the moderate area requirements will turn off the sanctions clocks. And then EPA approval of a complete serious area PM10 plan that addresses all moderate area requirements will stop promulgation of a federal implementation plan. Next slide, please. So I want to provide some updates on the base year annual emissions inventory with you. Again, EPA recommended selecting a base year between 2016 to 2018 for the base year emissions inventory for the plan, and 2017 was selected as the base year. The base year inventory includes only direct emissions of PM10. This is due to the fact that MAG has prepared a weighted evidence analysis that shows that PM10 precursor pollutants, the likes of ammonia, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, and volatile organic compounds, do not significantly contribute to exceedances of the PM10 standard in the West Pinal County non-attainment area, and are therefore not included as part of the 2017 base year inventory. And this base year inventory has been developed with inputs provided by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, the Pinal County Air Quality Control District, and MAG. Next slide, please. So since the last committee meeting in August, MAG has received some new inputs for the base year emissions inventory. Some of those new inputs include new estimates of the percentage of agricultural cropland that is considered to be fallow in the non-attainment area in 2017. Additional information was received on paving projects that were completed for unpaved roads in the non-attainment area. And then MAG also received refined estimates of the amount of average daily traffic on paved and unpaved roads in the non-attainment area. So the 2017 base year inventory has been updated to reflect these new inputs. Next slide, please. So this is a pie chart of the base year inventory with that reflects these changes with the new inputs that MAG has received. And again, I'll kind of start with the tilling and harvesting category and go around clockwise on the pie chart. So the overall tons of for the year is 38,218 tons per year within the non-attainment area. Tilling and harvesting is now estimated to be about 4.4% of that total. Feedlots are approximately 3.4% or 1,285 tons. Dairies represent 175 tons. Paved road dust is 816 tons or 2.1% of the pie. Unpaved road public dust, or unpaved road dust from public roads, is approximately 17.3% of the total. Unpaved road dust from private roads is approximately 33.7% of the total. Unpaved road dust from agricultural roads is about 20.4% of the total. And then some of the smaller trails are 1.7% of the total. And then the inclusion of test tracks, unpaved road dust from test tracks is approximately 0.7% of the total. Moving along, unpaved parking is about 1% of the total fugitive dust from unpaved parking. On-road mobile and non-road mobile both are only about 0.4% of the total. Construction emissions are 2.9% of the total. Point sources or permitted sources are 1.4% of the total. Open burning is 0.1%. And then some very other small categories of fuel combustion, commercial cooking, and miscellaneous processes, which are all less than 1%. On the right, and then the last category in the pie chart is windblown dust, which represents 9% of the annual inventory. On the right, we have a breakdown of that 9%, that 3,440 tons of windblown dust, how much windblown dust is coming from each of these categories within the windblown dust component as a whole. So we have commercial, industrial, and public land uses. That's 55 tons a year of that 3,440 tons per year at 1.6%. Construction acreage, where construction is actively occurring in 2017, is 0.7% of windblown dust. Cropland is 16.5% of windblown dust. Dairy and feedlots are 1.7%. Desert areas are 54% of the total. Large open area employment, these are sites such as landfills and sand and gravel or open pit mining facilities. That's 2.5% of the total. A lot of the single-family, low-density housing in the non-attainment area are relatively large, maybe an acre to half-acre parcels that are often low vegetation or unpaved, and that represents about 3% of the total. Unpaved roads, windblown dust from unpaved roads is 6% of windblown dust, and then vacant lots, which are lots that could be developed or partially developed and nothing is happening on them, are 13.8% of the total. So these are the new figures that we are currently working with as we continue development of the plan. Next slide, please. So the rest of the presentation, I want to go through the draft modeling protocol. So MAG has contracted with Trinity Consultants to perform and assist in the air quality modeling for the required attainment demonstration of the PM10 standard in the non-attainment area. A draft modeling protocol that describes the methods and assumptions used to model attainment in the PM10 non-attainment area has been prepared by Trinity Consultants and MAG. And this draft modeling protocol was submitted to EPA for their review on September 15th, 2021. EPA has seen parts of the modeling protocol in the past, but in terms of a complete draft modeling protocol, the complete draft document was submitted on September 15th, 2021. Next slide, please. So I want to go through what the modeling protocol represents on kind of a high level. So the protocol recommends the use of the AirMod modeling system. This is a model that was developed jointly by the American Meteorological Society and EPA to model PM10 concentrations during stagnant and low wind hours. Under elevated wind hours, the modeling protocol recommends the use of distance-weighted rollback to model PM10 concentrations. Commitments to implement 61 of the 70 measures on the suggested list of PM10 emission reduction measures have been received, as we reported last committee, from the Pinal County Board of Supervisors and the Governor's Agricultural Best Management Practices Committee. Under the modeling protocol, the calculated emission reductions from these committed measures will be modeled using both AirMod and rollback as appropriate to demonstrate attainment of the PM10 standard. Next slide, please. A little more detail about what AirMod is. AirMod is a dispersion model, and this model has been widely used to quantify the relationship between directly emitted air pollutants, so that's the PM10 emissions, and air quality, the PM10 concentrations under different meteorological conditions. Within AirMod, there are also modules or processors that accounts for the effect of meteorology and the effects of the surface terrain on PM10 concentrations. Historically, AirMod has had poor performance in replicating PM10 concentrations due to windblown dust from fugitive dust sources. So because of that, AirMod will not be used to predict PM10 concentrations from windblown dust when winds are elevated above the 12 miles per hour threshold. But because low wind activity-based emissions still occur during elevated wind hours, AirMod will continue to be used to estimate PM10 concentrations from activity-based or non-windblown dust emission sources during elevated wind hours as well. So during an elevated wind hour, we will be taking into account the effect of windblown dust, and then also taking into account the activity-based emissions, things like if tilling and harvesting were occurring, or unpaved road traffic. Those will still be added in as well, in addition to the windblown dust. Next slide, please. So rollback modeling, we mentioned that this is going to be used for windblown dust. Rollback modeling is a more simple model that assumes there's a linear relationship between PM10 source emissions and their contribution to PM10 concentrations at a monitor. So for example, in its simplest form, a 5% reduction in PM10 emissions would result in a 5% reduction in PM10 concentrations. That's the linear correlation relationship. EPA does allow the use of rollback when other modeling methods, like dispersion modeling, and this is a quote from their guidance, may not be suitable to appropriately address the nature of ambient PM10. And that has been what has historically been found with windblown dust, that dispersion models haven't really been able to replicate that very well. EPA has approved the use of rollback in both Maricopa County in the MAG 2012 5% plan, and then also a couple times for Clark County in their 2001 PM10 attainment plan and their 2012 maintenance plan. Next slide, please. So during elevated wind hours in the West Pinal County non-attainment area, the majority of the PM10 concentrations are from windblown dust. So while there are activity emissions occurring, the vast majority of the emissions are from windblown dust. So because of that, it is logical to assume that a percentage reduction in windblown dust, let's say 10%, from implementation of committed controls would result in a similar 10% reduction in PM10 concentrations. That then can be modeled through the rollback technique. One other additional item that the modeling protocol recommends is that rollback be done, a distance weighting be applied to the rollback. What this does is this assumes that sources that are closest to the monitor contribute more to PM10 concentrations than sources located farther away. So the windblown dust emissions will be weighted by a distance from the monitor, and then the rollback modeling will be applied. Next slide, please. In addition to those two modeling techniques, it's important to understand what the background concentrations are within the non-attainment area. And so the modeling protocol establishes background PM10 concentrations during both low wind and elevated wind hours. And kind of definition of background concentrations for modeling are PM10 concentrations from natural sources and sources that are located outside of the non-attainment area. Background concentrations are not affected or reduced by implementation of the committed control measures in the plan. So the Pinal Air Park PM10 monitoring site, which is still within Pinal County, but it's near the border of Pima County. It's located south of the non-attainment area, about 20 miles north of Tucson. This monitor was used to establish background PM10 concentrations coming into the non-attainment area. Next slide. During elevated wind hours, when the wind direction is blowing into the non-attainment area, the median PM10 concentration at the Pinal Air Park site was 17.8 micrograms per cubic meter, and this is based upon monitoring data from 2016 to 2018. So that will be the background value for elevated wind hours. During low wind hours, the median value was 12 micrograms per cubic meter, again, based upon monitoring data from 2016 to 2018. So those are the background values under both elevated and low wind conditions. Next slide, please. Again, part of the modeling protocol is the establishment of design days that will be used to model attainment. We've shared this with the committee before, but I just want to remind again that the plan must include modeling that demonstrates attainment of the PM10 standard at all of the monitors within the West Pinal County non-attainment area. So design days are specific PM10 exceedance days that are representative of the conditions, whether that be the meteorology and the PM10 emission sources that currently cause exceedances to occur within the non-attainment area. Design day PM10 concentrations must be reduced to the level of the PM10 standard through modeling, through both the air mod modeling and the rollback modeling, in order to show that the reduction benefits of the committed control measures are sufficient to demonstrate attainment of the PM10 standard in the non-attainment area. Next slide, please. So as a summary, design days for Hidden Valley, Pinal County housing, and Stanfield monitors have been identified and selected based on factors such as high PM10 concentrations, meteorological conditions, the diurnal pattern of those concentrations, seasonal patterns, and the feasibility of modeling the design days. So the table below shows the days, the 8 days that are going to be modeled as design days, both under low wind conditions and elevated wind conditions at those 3 monitoring sites. Next slide, please. As a reminder, under low wind conditions, it is the sources within 4 miles of the monitor that are assumed to cause the exceedance and contribute to the exceedance at the monitor that has the exceedance. So This is the emission sources within this 4-mile circle are the ones that will be modeled to show attainment of the standard with the controls. So this is the low wind domain for the Hidden Valley monitor, and the yellow circle is the 4-mile radius circle around the Hidden Valley monitor. Next slide. This is the low wind domain for the Pinal County housing monitor. Again, this is a 4-mile radius around the monitor. So emission sources within that circle will be modeled. Next slide, please. And then this is the Stanfield low wind domain. Next slide. During elevated wind conditions, we are still looking at approximately, or we still are looking at 4 miles, staying within that 4-mile domain, but we are limiting the domain to areas where the wind direction is coming from. The red pie piece within the overall blue 4-mile domain is where elevated wind emissions will be calculated, because the wind was blowing from, in this case, the wind was blowing from the east to the monitors on both August 28th, 2017 and July 6th, 2018. So the red pie piece contains the emission sources for which windblown dust are assumed to impact the monitor for Hidden Valley. We're doing 2 days for Hidden Valley. Next slide. Also modeling the same 2 days for Stanfield, and you can see pretty similar elevated wind domains. Again, it is the red pie piece that will assume to contain windblown dust emissions that impact the monitor on these 2 design days. Next slide. So what year will we be modeling attainment for? When we looked at the implementation schedule that were provided with the commitments to implement measures, looks like the earliest all BACM and most stringent measures will fully be in place and implemented is in 2024. So under this schedule, 2026 may be the earliest year that attainment could be demonstrated. So this would allow for 3 complete years, since the PM10 standard looks at 3 years of data: 2024, 2025, 2026, of full implementation of all committed BACM and MSM measures. So this is assumed to be the earliest that attainment could be achieved in the non-attainment area. 2027 is the latest extension year allowed by the Clean Air Act. And so 2027 is also being evaluated as an attainment year should attainment not be possible in 2026. Next slide. This is a summary slide of how the attainment demonstration will work. So to demonstrate attainment of the 24-hour PM10 standard in the attainment year, whether that be 2026 or 2027, the 24-hour concentrations estimated by AirMod and the rollback technique should not exceed 154 micrograms per cubic meter. The PM10 standard is 150 micrograms per cubic meter, but EPA rounds that to the nearest 10. So anything 154 through 150 is considered to be 150 by EPA standards. So as long as the 24-hour concentration is 154 or less in the attainment year for the specific design days, that specific design day is considered to meet the PM10 standard. Since AirMod modeling results may differ from the observed monitored PM10 concentrations, what we're saying here is AirMod cannot duplicate the concentrations. The modeling results will be close to what is seen or will mimic the pattern to what is seen, but they won't be exactly what is observed at the monitors. AirMod results will be applied in a relative manner. So in this case, the percent change in AirMod modeled PM10 concentrations between the base year 2017 and the attainment year will be applied to the monitored value, excluding background concentrations. So obviously background concentrations stay the same. But it's those changes in PM10 concentrations seen between the base year and the attainment year that get applied to the design days to see if it's enough to make that design day achieve attainment. And similarly for the elevated wind hours where rollback is used, it's the impact of the committed wind-blown dust controls in the attainment year that is used. So the ratio between the base year and the attainment year emissions will be applied to the design day hourly concentrations under elevated wind conditions, again, excluding background. So that is how the attainment demonstration will work mathematically. Next slide, please. That's a summary of what's been included in the modeling protocol and available if there are any questions.
Are there any questions from the committee? I have one for you, Matt. You mentioned that the rollback had been approved for like Maricopa County and Clark County by EPA in the past, but did that involve the distance weighted rollback that you talked about?
Our plan, the MAG 2012 plan, did use distance weighting. I believe the Clark County plans were simple rollback where distance weighting was not used.
Okay. Thank you.
Both have been looked at, yes.
Okay, I'm pausing just for another second to see if anyone else has any questions. And hearing none, thank you, Matt. We are going to move on to agenda item number 5. This is the Valley Metro update on the Share the Ride system and Rideshare Month. And the presentation will be provided by Lillian Duarte with Valley Metro.
Great, thank you. It's wonderful to be here today. So just a few quick updates with respect to our Valley Metro update. And I think you have my slide deck, correct? Awesome. So the first good news that I'd like to share with you, if you go to the next slide, and actually, all right, thank you, is our new sharetheright.com emissions calculator. Let's take a look at that. Next slide. All right, so we recently added this nice element to our Share the Ride dashboard so that employers could see what the savings would be if they went to telework. And so depending on the number of employees they had and the work weeks that they have in a year, average commute distance, and how many days of the week they have folks telecommuting, it's a great way for them to see what that means to them with respect to savings. So you know, they really get a good sense of how this is not only great for the environment, but can save the company in many ways with, you know, less overhead with employees in the office and so on and so forth. But it really gives them some tangible information in terms of like how many trees it could, you know, equate to, or leaf blowing amount saved and all of that stuff. And it is available to anyone that would like to check it out at sharetheright.com. So it's free. There's no cost to do that. If you can show the next slide, please. So they'll actually be able to see what their current footprint is based on, you know, before they input their information about telework. So how many commute miles they might have and the cost of commuting, and then the emissions for what, if it's, you know, volatile organic compounds, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, et cetera. And then once they put that information in, this is basing on, say, 2 telework days a week, then they'll actually be able to see what the commute miles saved are, commuting costs, and then what that equates to with the pollution savings, which is, you know, a pretty big deal. It really makes a big impact on making air quality better and making it better for everyone all the way around in the valley to have to be, you know, what their impacts would be from that. It also has the impact and reduction for commute miles, commute costs there on the right side. And then the really cool thing is the equivalent forest of carbon monoxide sequestration, and, you know, with the acreages for that, leaf blowing, nitrogen oxides, if they're not using that, how many hours is saved there. So it's really, I think, a nice feature for folks to be able to really get the big picture as to how their choices to allow telework matter and what that adds up to in the big picture. Okay. Next slide. The other thing that we wanted to alert you all about is that next month is Rideshare Month. So it's an opportunity that, you know, we really do 2 big featured promotions a year with respect to commuting. Valley Bike Month in April, which is all cycling and getting people, you know, and interested in that. And then in October with Rideshare Month, it's Rideshare Month. It's all the other modes: carpool, vanpool, bicycling, riding light rail, riding the bus, and telework. So it's, you know, all of the modes. It gives folks an opportunity to dip their toe in the water and kind of see what is it, you know, what's this all about? I can maybe try this once in a while and see, you know, if I like it or not. We encourage employers in the travel reduction program to really use October's Rideshare Month as an opportunity to just introduce people and let them try something new, offer incentives and other fun ways for people to get involved. Next slide. So hopefully this video will play, and I'll talk a little bit about it after it does play. If you can hit the...
Hey Valley commuters, October is Rideshare Month, and Valley Metro is inviting you to try a new way to work. Track your green trips throughout October to earn points and enter to win great prizes at sharetheride.com. That's sharetheride.com.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So what was that? That was our Rideshare Month PSA that we recently did and partnered with Harkins Theaters on. It's actually currently running at all local Harkins Theaters through October 15th. So we're really wanting people to go to sharetheride.com, register for free, try to find those commuting partners and options, and then log those trips using the dashboard. So whether they're carpooling, using the van pools, riding transit, or if they're teleworking full-time, then that's great too, because we want to know, what they're doing. There is going to be a commuter challenge that people can join and participate in and compete against other teams or individuals for bragging rights and prizes. And the other cool thing is that they folks that are tracking commutes for Rideshare Month can earn badges. So they can proudly display the badges depending on what level they're at. There's 3 different levels, and it's dependent on how many trips they are tracking, and they'll earn the badges based on that. So there's a lot of fun ways for people to get involved. All of the artwork that you see is also at our valleymetro.org website in our commute solutions section, where they can download some of the social media images or posters and other things. So it's a great way for people to be able to use this, and whether they're doing traditional bulletin boards that they're posting posters on, or they want to just capture and do some screen grabs of things that they can put on their own intranet sites or maybe their own social media. It's a great way for them to engage employees and try to do that reach. Next slide. So as I mentioned, that PSA that you just saw is running through October 15th at all Harkins Theaters. And the other cool thing is that with our sharetheride.com website, we do have a Share the Ride and Save Facebook page that folks can follow and learn about our program, as well as participate in other little contests that we offer on our Facebook page. So right now, if anyone sees our PSA, when you go to Harkins and you take a snapshot of the actual PSA, posted on our Share the Ride and Save Facebook page, along with the hashtag Rideshare Month 2021 and the name of their favorite commute theme movie. Maybe it's Throw Mama from the Train or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, whatever that might be. They have an opportunity to win a pair of movie passes for their next time that they want to go to the movies. So we're really hoping that people will engage with us and participate in Rideshare Month. Currently, actually through September 30th, we do have a Rideshare Month pledge that people can take at Share the Ride, basically just saying, hey, this is what I plan to do for October's Rideshare Month. And if they do take that pledge and tell us what they're going to do, they will actually be entered to win a $25 gift card to a local restaurant. So it's a nice way to just kind of see how we can get people motivated, engaged, and start to log those trips on our website. And I hope you'll spread the word to the folks that you know about these great options. So the telework emissions calculator, as well as October's rideshare month. I believe that's my last slide. Oh, those are actually the visual images that I mentioned. So folks can use those screen grabs, as I said, the posters on that right-hand side, some of our social media images on that top portion, the first one on the left and the center one, as well as the bottom left. And then those three that you see in the center that say a new way to work, and either the salmon, the blue, or the purple, those are actually what the badges look like that they can earn depending on how many trips they're tracking in Share the Ride. All right, if you do have any questions and you want more information about that, you can reach out to Abigail Cooksey Williams, who's our TDM manager for our Commute Solutions Department. And she's happy to answer that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have today.
Thank you. I will pause and see if the committee has any questions.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
This is Mario from the city of Goodyear. Just great presentation. And I'm just curious, it sounded like the effort is to try and reach or gauge individuals, but just kind of on the telecommute item that you touched on as an option, there are quite a few employees in our organization that telecommute Thursday, Friday. So I was just curious, and you may have already mentioned it, if you're asking organizations or for those numbers so that you're aware from a company standpoint, or was it just is it more focused on learning behaviors of individuals?
Great question. It's actually an opportunity for employers, for those managers at those locations, to really see what the impact is for their employer sites, depending on what they're considering. So you really, like, for right now with your city, doing telework, say, if, majority are doing it, but you really want to see what does that look like as a bigger picture. If we're saying, okay, we have X amount of employees that are doing this X amount of days per week, what does that equate to? And that's really an opportunity for you to be able to learn and get some insight as to what that impact is. And maybe, considering for future, let's just say, here's what we're doing now because of the pandemic, but if we're going to be going back to, say, 2022 to a more traditional, people are going to be coming in more, or maybe not. Maybe we're going to allow telework to be extended past what the current situation is. It really could be a good way to kind of get buy-in from management to see, hey, this is what the savings can be and what that can mean. And especially, if it also means saving on real estate costs of, renting properties and so forth to be able to house those individuals. So it's just kind of a good way for those individual employers to get that information. And certainly, in terms of Valley Metro or the Share the Ride site itself, if people are going to be actually tracking those commutes in the system, and we'll be able to see what that, adds up to if people are going in there. So we can use, the actual commute tracking that folks do to get some reports that will show, we have X amount of people in our system that are doing this, this, and this. So that's where we would use, information for the commute calendar, but not so much for this emissions calculator. That's more for the employers to be able to get a feel for what's going on or what could be potentially saved for them.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. We are going to move on now to agenda item number 6, which is reduce dust when planting winter ryegrass. And that presentation will be by Lindy Bauer, Maricopa Association of Governments.
Thank you very much. It's the fall, and so the Maricopa County Air Quality Department encourages commercial properties, government agencies, and residents to take some dust reducing measures when you're planting the winter ryegrass for the fall. So scalping the Bermuda grass can cause some dust. And so the department has some very good tips to prevent dust from overseeding, from the overseeding process. First of all, avoid scalping on windy days and on high pollution advisory days. Don't over dry the area prior to the scalping. Apply water to moisten the area prior to doing the scalping. Reduce the area to be overseeded and the depth of the scalping. Keep the dust collection screens and filters in good working condition. Sweep loose debris from paved surfaces instead of using a leaf blower. And you can also check out Maricopa County's P25 ordinance. And finally, moisten material piles before loading into dumpsters. So we're in the fall. We have attained the PM10 standard, and we want to make sure that we keep attaining that PM10 standard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lindy. Is there any questions on those tips?
Yes, I have a question. Lindy, are you all broadcasting that? Did I miss that? Are you broadcasting that anywhere? Are you taking any radio spots or anything like that?
The Maricopa County Air Quality Department issued a press release on this on September 14th. So we looked at the county's press release and we thought the timing is perfect to put it before this committee.
No, I agree with you. I'm just hoping that we could send out a copy to all the golf courses and maybe some of the neighborhood associations so they could pass it out to their, especially in Central Phoenix, those folks that actually do have grass in their front yards.
That's a great idea. We will talk to the Maricopa County Air Quality Department about that possibility. Thank you, Amanda.
This is Kai Umeda with the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension. The golf course industry does have its best management practices regarding the overseeding process, and they do try to minimize the dust conditions. In fact, in recent years, there have been modifications in the practices itself where they do not scalp as much. And so they do not generate the amount of dust that was previously generated. And so they do minimize the amount of cutting the Bermuda grass. They don't scalp down to the bare ground that generates the dust material. So there is a reduction from the professionals on the golf course properties and the professional baseball complexes, the stadiums, where they do overseeding. And there is a bulletin that is put out by the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension, and it's available to the general public and to the landscape industry so that the practices for minimizing the dust exposures is minimized. And we do have the practices so that they do minimize the amount of grass cutting down to the bare ground. And that is available at our website. It is turf.arizona, spelled out, .edu, where on the front page, it will describe, or it will lead you to a link for the overseeding process.
Thank you for that additional reference. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this agenda item?
Hi, this is Ramona Simpson, town of Queen Creek. I just wanted to say that we do get as municipalities this information from the county air quality. And we as our organization, and I'm sure others, also send that out on social media and to our residents. And we do get the word out on proper planting of winter ryegrass. So we do our part. So everyone get that message out on your own social media platforms. And the air quality department has great templates that you can use for any medium that you want to. We put it out in our e-newsletters and again on our Facebook and Nextdoor. So it's a great way to get to the HOAs as well through municipal outreach.
Thanks, Ramona. Okay. Any other questions? We'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is request for future agenda items. Do we have any requests by membership for an item for a future agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to adjournment. So business is now concluded. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Martin Lucero, City Surprise, so moved.
Thank you, Martin. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.